I don't know why turtlenecks became a thing for this series, but here we are. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. My name is Caira and I make videos all about apartment living, Chicago, Trader Joe's. It's a great time. Today is another one of my videos where I answer all of your questions about moving to Chicago. I put a poll on Instagram and asked you guys to throw at me all of the questions you have about living in the city, and you guys gave me so many amazing questions, which is so great because since I'm a leasing agent with Compass, I forget that these are really typical questions because I just do this like leasing apartment world all day, every day. And I forget that like people who move from out of state or even move within the state don't always necessarily know all of the ins and outs on what it means to work with a leasing agent in the city and just how to live in Chicago. I am here to guide you. Let me answer your questions and let's just jump into it. Also, if you haven't already, go check out, I have 2 previous videos than this one on other apartment questions. So if your question's not answered in this video, it very well might be answered in one of those videos. So go check those out. And of course, if your question's still not answered after this video, feel free to DM me on Instagram, comment down below, get in touch with me somehow, and I'm happy to answer anything for you guys. Okay, one of the questions I got asked a lot was, what is the average price per bedroom in Chicago? This is a hard one. And this is especially a hard one because the market right now is so crazy with COVID and everything, and we're in winter right now, so the prices are especially low. Average price I would say is like $1,900 for a 1-bedroom. It really depends. When you think about the fact that housing can be walk-ups, which aren't professionally managed, and you have no amenities and your utilities are all paid for separately, and you don't have a washer and dryer in your unit and everything, you can get a 1-bedroom for like $1,200, $1,300, but it's not gonna be like the same quality. And then when you think about these buildings where they have like the most amazing amenities and they are right downtown and you have floor-to-ceiling windows and a professionally management company and everything, those can be like $2,000. So it really depends on what you're looking at. I will say, because we are in the middle of winter and COVID is so crazy and the market is so nuts, I have found some of the most like stellar, beautiful 1-bedrooms going for like $1,500. But if you're watching this video in like June or July, I have no idea where the market's going. It's all just so crazy right now. I literally have no idea what's gonna happen. Oh, I like this one. What are some must-haves for apartments that you think people often forget about? The ones that I always ask people every single time, because people don't always think of this, is pets. If you have a pet, your apartment has to be pet friendly unless it's an emotional support animal, and then you can literally live anywhere. If you have pets, you need to keep that in mind. You will be paying pet rent most of the time or a pet deposit. That can be like a $300 one-time pet deposit and then $25 each month for pet rent. Totally depends where you're at. Some places are so pet friendly they don't charge. Some places only charge $20 a month and there's no pet deposit. Also, keep in mind, living in the city, there are always sirens all the time, no matter what. Also, parking. It blows my mind how much people forget about parking because it is so expensive in the city. I would say for like professionally managed buildings, to get parking in your building can be anywhere from like $225 a month to $350 a month. So definitely keep that in mind when you are talking to a leasing agent. If you're bringing a car and that has to be included in your budget that you've set initially, that's something we need to know because that is a huge chunk of money. Utilities typically are not included. When we give you quotes on rent prices, that typically doesn't include utilities. A lot of the professionally managed buildings will have like a utility package, which ends up saving you a lot of money. So at our building, for a 1-bedroom, our utility package is $95 and it covers water, sewage, trash, gas, internet. So literally everything except for electric. It's just a one cost bill, which is really, really nice. So we're not like adding all those up and we don't have to have accounts with everybody. And then we just have our electricity account through ComEd. And I would say for a 1-bedroom, our electric bill is never more than like $40. It's probably closer to $30 each month. So that's been super easy for us too. But it depends every single building you go to. Always keep in mind when you are getting quotes on apartments, that typically does not include your utility bill. Another thing people always forget about is like laundry and unit. This is something I ask every single person because I feel like this is a huge make or break it. Laundry in unit is not like a for sure that you're gonna get in your apartment. Some apartments have laundry in unit, some of them don't. But if laundry is not available in unit, 90% of the time, the building has it in building, so at least you don't have to leave to go do your laundry. And the one thing I always love to point out to renters when they are looking at buildings that have laundry in unit versus laundry in building is the really nice thing about having it in building is if you are someone who you just like wanna do all of your laundry in one go on one day, you can take your laundry down to the laundry area and use like 4 4 washers and 4 dryers and have all of your clothes be clean within an hour instead of doing like 1 load at a time like you would in your own building. So I did that when I moved in my first studio, and it was super easy to do. Oh, and the last one that I feel like people always forget about is dishwasher. Not all units have dishwashers. That can be something that's not easy to find either. Keep in mind dishwashers, garbage disposals. A lot of units don't have garbage disposals. If you're very particular about having carpet or no carpet in your unit, these are things people don't always think about until they're like actually in units and touring. So definitely important to keep all of that in mind too. Okay, this question says, best apartments to live in to meet new people as someone new to the city. That's a really good question. It totally depends. That's not one that I can be like, oh, this apartment, and this apartment have a great social life. But I would say that's something to keep in mind when you're touring apartments. Look at how people use the common areas. If there's a lot of people in the common areas, that's a really easy way to meet people. Also, a lot of these like more luxury professionally managed buildings, typically not in COVID, have community events where like they'll have a pizza night or beer night or movie night, pool party, whatever. And that's a really easy way to meet people too. I know at my last building, we had free fitness classes a couple times every single day. And so I would go to those all the time. And that's how I met a bunch of my friends, which was really great. If that's something that's important to you, keeping in mind like things that your building offers besides just your apartment is going to be how you're gonna be able to figure that out. But it's not really something that I can be like, these ones have great social lives and these ones don't. I also really love this question. New to the city and never ridden a public bus. What's the process? Okay, number one, we gotta get you on the bus because the bus is just really, really easy to use in Chicago. Number two is you'll get a venture card. So this is a nifty little card. You can pick it up, I think, at like Walgreens. But you'll get this card, you'll register it online, you'll have an account, and then you just like load money onto your card. Mine's on like an auto roll, so anytime it dips below a certain amount, it just like reloads itself. But then this is your card for all of the transit in the city. So whether you're getting on the bus or on the train, all you'll do is you'll boop it onto the little scanner thing and it'll just take the money from your account off of your card. What's really great about it is if you are riding the bus somewhere and say I want to go to a different area and I want to go to a different grocery store for some odd reason and I'm gonna ride the bus, I can boop myself onto the bus, take the bus up there, and then as long as I come back, I think it's within like 2 hours or something, or an hour, I don't remember. When I boop to come back, it's just 25 cents. And same with the train transfer, or you're going like on different trains, it's just another 25 cents. So it's super, super easy to use. The venture system is really simple and easy and I love it. Number one, get yourself a venture card and then you can get anywhere in the city. Also use the transit app. That's been my favorite one so far. And it will show you what's the quickest way to get there, whether you're doing train, bus, combination of both. The Divvy bikes, which is the bike system here in Chicago, or Ubers, Lyfts, or your own bike. It just lists all of the timings out so that way you can see what option makes sense to you, and it tracks all the buses and stuff so that way you can see exactly where they are and how long your wait would be. Highly recommend. Public transit in Chicago is great. Oh, and I'm gonna tie this one in too. Somebody said, how easy or difficult is it to take a dog around in the city? Depends on your size of the dog. You can take dogs onto transit, so onto the bus and the train, but they have to be in a carrier of some sort. So Louis is super freaking small, and so I have just like a little tote bag that he knows it as his transit bag, and whenever we're going on the bus, or even if I'm going on the Divvy bikes or something, I'll put that on the ground and he literally jumps into it and just like hangs out of my shoulder and looks around, and he's totally good just like being in this little tote bag whenever I take him onto the bus or train. If you have a bigger dog, they have to be in a bag, so, or some sort of carrier. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about taking animals around in the city. Also on Ubers, I'll take Louis with me and I'll just call the Uber before time and ask them if it's okay if I have a small lap dog sit with me and he just sits on my lap. Like I won't even put him on the seat or on the floor. I put him on top of me so that way like they can't really get mad at me. If you have a bigger dog, you also have the option on Uber, I think just on Uber, to be able to schedule a ride for you and a pet. They like have that as an option that someone can opt to allow animals in their car too. Do Chicago apartments require credit checks, proof of income in order to approve you? Yes, 100% yes. Credit has been an interesting one. So most buildings require a credit score of at least 600 to be able to get an apartment. I know like there are low income housing places that can work with people if they have a credit score less than that, or like low cost housing might not have that same requirement. But for most buildings, they do require a credit check and it has to be of 600 or above. Also income, yes, 100% places do require proof of income, but this can be like a variety of things. Some buildings require like 2.5 times to 3.5 times the amount of rent shown in your gross income, but there's different ways around that. Like I've had people, when they're moving to the city and they don't have pay stubs to show, they can show proof of income with an offer letter. You can always have a co-signer, which can be a parent or family member, friend, whoever is willing to back you and say that they'll pay rent if you don't, kind of thing. You can always have a co-signer jump on to show proof of income. If you are a student and you are moving with student loans and part of your student loans is allowed to go to housing, then you can show proof of your income through student loans. There's different ways that you can do it, so always keep that in mind. When it comes to this kind of stuff, I always tell the person, like, put in your application in the building, whatever requirements that they have, they'll reach back out to you and let you know what they need. Do the neighborhoods like Lincoln Park and Lakeview still have an urban feel? Yes. Depends where you're at. It can definitely get a lot more neighborhoody up there, but I think so. Depends on what you consider an urban feel. But those areas are still mainly townhouses or like the taller condo buildings and things. And that to me feels very urban. It's not a lot of like standalone individual houses. It's a lot of like townhomes and things. The buses still go through there. You are still super easily accessible to get to downtown. There's also the trains that run through there. So yeah, I would say it definitely does still have it very much of a Chicago vibe. It does not feel like you're living in the suburbs whatsoever. Everything's still super walkable. I really like both of those areas. You're really close to the lake and the park, and it's just, I don't know, you can't go wrong. You really just can't go wrong. Do leasing agents negotiate on your behalf for the best deal, or is the negotiating up to you? We will negotiate on your behalf. That being said, a lot of these high-rise buildings, there's really no negotiating that can happen as far as your rent goes. It's like a fair housing law. They have to stick to the price that they've posted because they would have to offer it to everyone exactly the same. But they can do different things like the look and lease deals, or they can throw in like an extra month of free parking or different things like that to try and like hook you in. So that's something as a leasing agent I will always try and do, is make sure that you get the best deal possible. When it comes to more of like the landlord situations, you do have a little bit more of a leeway to be able to negotiate, but I would keep in mind like it's not a ton. Sometimes you can say like if it's like $50 over your budget, you can be like, look, they'll sign today if you like take off $50 a month or things. But like if you're looking at somewhere and you're expecting to get like $200 off of rent each month, I would say that's probably not gonna happen. If you're interested in the apartment, will they show you the actual unit or the model unit? If you're touring a building and you have one specific unit that you're interested in, typically they will try and show you that unit. The only caveat is if that unit is still rented and there's somebody occupying it, but it's gonna be coming available soon, then they can't show you that exact unit because someone's living there. Unless it is like a privately managed, like a landlord sort of building, then sometimes they'll work it out with their renter where they'll let somebody come view it. But if you're looking at like a professionally managed, more luxury type building, they won't. They won't let you see that exact unit, but they'll try and work out, like they'll show you the best thing possible, whether that's the exact same unit on a different floor or the exact same unit, but the floor plan is flipped the other way. Whatever it is, they'll show you the closest they can to exactly what you'd be living in. Typically, if a building has the unit and it has a model unit, they'll show you both. So that way you can see like, this is exactly where you'll be living. This would be your exact view, blah, blah, blah. But then they'll take you to a model unit and they'll show you like, this is what it looks like with furniture. Like this is how you can break up the space and that kind of thing. So I always think that's really helpful too. If living out of state, will there be virtual tours of apartments with a leasing professional? Yes, there are virtual tours. That's become a huge thing, especially with COVID now. So basically how a virtual tour works is you would still work with somebody like me. I reach out to the buildings, I get all of the info, give it back to you. Once you decide you like the buildings, I'll reach out to the buildings and I'll tell them you want to do a virtual tour. You can do virtual tours even if you live in the city and you just don't want to go to the building because of COVID, or you just also don't want to. Or you can do them when you're out of state. That's another really common reason. And so how that works is either I'll go to the building and I'll FaceTime you or take videos for you and send you all of the building. Or if the building has it set up, a lot of times they'll have somebody from the building and they will like get on a FaceTime with the both of us or a Zoom call or something, and they'll walk us through and take you through the amenities and the building and yada yada. And that can be really great because then if we're both on the call, it makes it so that you can ask any questions you have, but I also will know to ask any questions that they haven't hit. So like if I know you're bringing a car and they haven't asked about parking and you also forgot to ask about parking, I'll be there to make sure to ask about parking so that way you can get every piece of information you need to know. It's also just really nice to have me there because then after the tour, you and I can talk and see where your head's at on it. And if you have any follow-up questions, I can be that point of contact to go back to the building to ask, just so that way you don't have to be in the middle of it. Saves you time. This is my job. This is why I get paid. Also, I'm going to touch on this because I haven't brought it up in this video, but I brought it up in last videos. Working with a leasing agent is 100% free. You literally never pay anything. The way that it works is whatever apartment you pick, and it could be professionally managed, privately managed, a luxury high-rise, a walk-up, it does not matter to me. I do not care. Whatever you pick is that apartment will then pay me a commission for bringing you. The only thing with working with a leasing agent is please do not go to buildings on your own. Please don't schedule your own tours or like call and ask about information for a building, just because once they have your information, then they will consider you their client, not mine, and I won't get commission because they'll say that you reached out to them first. If you're working with a leasing agent, you will get the exact same deals as you would if you walked through the door on one of these apartments on your own. There's no downfall to working with a leasing agent. It's 100% free. You have a Chicago licensed expert in this field who will be able to find you the best deals possible, and we're really just here to make it easier. Oh, okay, I love this question. What's better for a first-time renter living solo, a studio or a one-bedroom, other than the money? Okay, money is obviously like the biggest thing, but I guess if money is not an issue, most people would probably say a one-bedroom just so they can have that separation of space. I don't know though. I think I'd still pick the studio. When I lived in my first studio, not only like it definitely was a better deal, but I also just really, really loved that smaller, it was easy to clean. It was my first time living on my own, and I was like kind of, maybe afraid is the right word, I don't know. Like I'd never done it before, and I loved that I could walk into my apartment and I could see every corner in my apartment, and there was nobody hiding behind any doors because I had everything right there. It was just like so nice to have like just a little space of my own. Yeah, I guess if money is not an issue, like that's my biggest thing, is if you're moving out for the first time and you're looking to save money, live in a studio. It makes so much more sense. Like you're not gonna miss having a bedroom, I promise. You think you will, you won't. But if money's not an issue, I mean, I guess maybe go for the one bedroom. I don't know. I don't know that I just helped there a lot, but I love studios. I'll always be a huge proponent for like studios are amazing and everybody should live in one. Could you name a couple of your favorite areas in Chicago? I talked about this one quite a bit in my first video, but I'll touch on this again here. So I live in River North and I currently love it because it is super easy to access anywhere in the city. That being said, I don't think I'll stay here forever because it is very much of that like downtown-y hotel vibe. So all of the restaurants and everything are a little bit more high end here, where I kind of am more of like a hole in the wall like kind of girl. So I also really love Wicker Park. I could totally see myself living in Wicker Park. I think that is a super cool area of the city. I love Westtown. I love West Loop. West Loop has like the best restaurants ever, and that's also really cool and very accessible if you are somebody who's going to be working in the Loop. I love Lincoln Park. That is a really cool area, especially if like being close to the lake and everything is important to you. I love Uptown. That one's like quite a bit further north, but it is right off the red line, but such a cool area with a lot of really cool music venues and a lot of Asian grocery stores and really great Asian restaurants and stuff. It's just got so much character up there. So I would say those are probably my top favorite. I do also spend a lot of time in Chinatown, but I don't think I'd live down there just because it is a bit more isolated. But a bunch of other areas that I know a lot of people really do love and they would live in. South Loop super cool. There's Printers Row, that's turning into a really popular area that's right on the lake, right off of Grant Park, and you have the most amazing buildings down there with the craziest amenities ever. A lot of people love Old Town. That's a really popular one. Gold Coast, Streeterville, those ones are like right next to River North, but right on the lake, which is really cool. Lakeview is popular as well. I don't know. I really feel like you can't go wrong. I love the whole entire city, and I have never been anywhere in the city that I'm like, oh, I couldn't live here. Like I love everywhere in this stinking city. So you can't go wrong. Or at least I won't let you go wrong. I will not steer you to somewhere that I would not live. And I think that's one of the best parts about working with a realtor is that they'll know areas better than you do, especially if you're someone who's moving from out of state. Okay, this is gonna be my last question for this video, but this is rent protected in Chicago? No, it's not. Nowhere that you look in the city is rent protected. So this is something that's really important because I kind of get this question a lot because people will be looking at these high-rise buildings and the like market rate of rent might be like $1,200, but then you get a couple months free and it brings it down to like $1,000 a month. I'm just throwing out random numbers here. I'll have people who look at that and they'll be like, oh, this is great, I can do $1,000 a month, but once my lease is up, will I have to start paying that $1,200 if I want to re-sign? This is something like you never know. You'll never know. Buildings could ask to re-sign you at that $1,200. Buildings can also say the rent has gone up so much that now it's $1,400, or the building can say we'll give it to you again for $1,000. It's never a guarantee. There is no rent lock, so you won't know what happens. You won't know with the market or anything what they're gonna offer you. For me, every time we've had to move and our leases up, we've moved to a different building because A, I love living in different apartments, and B, that's really how you get the best deal because you'll be able to take advantage of those like 2 months free, 1 month free, whatever. But like like no matter where you go, whether it's a walk-up or a luxury high-rise, the building always has the option to raise your rent. There is no rent block in Chicago. That is the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I answered some of your questions. If you have any questions that I didn't hit on in today's video, please comment them down below or go over and DM me on Instagram and let me know over there too. I'm keeping like a running list of all of your guys' questions so I can get everything answered and throw it out there for you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you don't already, please hit that big red subscribe button. I post at least 2 videos a week and I would love for you to follow along. Also follow me on Instagram. I post tons of apartment content over there. I do a lot of apartment tours and things that don't always make it into my videos. And follow me over on Twitch. I do Cooking with Kai 2 times a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I would love for you guys to watch along over there as well. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.